Hi, good afternoon viewers. Thank you for tuning in and welcome to Daybreak News with the Guyanese Critic. I'm here with Minister of Legal Affairs and Attorney General of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, and we're going to discuss very briefly some of the issues affecting Guyanese surrounding legal affairs and present issues that are going on in our country. And I'm hoping that the Attorney General will give us a better understanding of that. Thank you for having me, Attorney General. One of the first things that Guyanese are still fresh in the Guyanese mind after going through the horrors of just after the election for 5 months is the election petition now filed by the opposition. I know today there was some sort of a case in relation to that. Can you give us an update as to where that is?
Well, 2 elections petitions were filed. One elections petition challenges the legality of the recount only, and they're saying that the recount order is unconstitutional, and therefore the recount results are illegal, and what they want in that petition is for Mingo's declaration to stand. Mingo's fraudulent declaration. Implicit in that, therefore, they are contending that the elections itself, voting day and tabulation and counting and declarations were all right, nothing wrong with it, and that they won. However, they are saying that the recount which was done is what was illegal. So that's what one petition says. The other petition conflicts with that absolutely. The other petition says that the entire election was an illegality and it was contaminated by irregularities, that dead people voted by the thousands, that the list was unlawful and bloated, that election documents were missing, and statutory documents were missing, that important statutory procedures were not complied with, and therefore the whole election was good. So by and large, you had the 2 petitions, both filed apparently by the same party, that collide with each other. One is saying that the elections is valid, but the recount is valid, and throw away the recount and let Mingo's declaration stand, because we had a perfect election and Mingo did a perfect count and Mingo's declaration is perfect. Then that very party is saying on the next petition that the whole election is fraudulent, beginning from the list going to the results, the entire process. So one of the petitions must lose, or both must be lost, because they are colliding with each other. Then, although they are saying on the one hand that the recount order is bad and is illegal, they still want Granger to be declared president. Then on the other hand, though they are saying that the whole election is fraudulent, the whole election is tarred or marred by illegality, that the list is defective, that the whole election should be set aside and nullified, they still want Granger to be declared president on the same bad elections, on the same fraudulent elections. So that's another inconsistency. Then within the proceedings itself, they have used certain procedural mode to go to the court to get certain orders made, orders for substituted service, order for leave to issue the petition, all of which are legal requirements. They use what you call the CPR rules to approach the court. when I did the same thing in my application to strike out, they're objecting to me. And all I did was to basically not really follow them, but to utilize the same procedure that they utilize. So apparently they can do it, but nobody else can do it. When I did the identical thing, I am wrong. When they did it, it's okay. And that's why the Chief Justice in her ruling said, what goes for the goose must go for the gander. Then there are even more irregularities as you go on. For example, they name Mr. David Granger as a respondent. And then they file something, and we are able to, the law says all respondents must be served within a prescribed time. They did not serve Mr. Granger in the prescribed time. They served Mr. Granger over a week late. When we pointed that out now, to get around that argument, they're now saying that Granger should not have been named a respondent because it is basically his petition, that the petition will make him the president. So how can he oppose the petition? So they get him now to file a notice to say he's not opposing the petition. But now we draft the petition. Is they drafted the petition? Is they put Granger there? And having put Granger there now as a respondent, they have to comply with the rules in relation to service that applies to all respondents. You can't put him there and then when you are found wanting, because you haven't served him in accordance with the rules, then to get around your violation of the rules, you say, oh Lord, he shouldn't have been there. He shouldn't have been there. It's a mistake we made. So get him now to exercise a right which the law gives him, not to oppose. But as I've explained before, whether a person is a respondent named and whether he wants to oppose the petition are two mutually different concepts. They are exclusive concepts. Any respondent named can decide that, look, I will not oppose the petition. And once he decides that, he doesn't participate anymore. But that has nothing to do with whether he will properly serve or not, or the obligation of the petitioner to serve him. You have to serve him if he's a respondent within the time frame prescribed by the law. But they have not done that. And now Mr. Granger is exercising this right. But the right relates to a respondent. The law says any respondent who has been named can exercise a right to say that he's not opposing the petition. But before you exercise the right,
you have to be a legal respondent.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. So they want Mr. Granger to exercise that right, but they are saying that he's an illegal respondent. The point I am making is that there is complete confusion in the camp. Implosions. One of them say that they served the affidavit of Mr. David Granger on the, when we point out that the affidavit of service was 6 days late, sometime on the 25th, they rushed, only after we made the observation in our application to strike out for late service, they run back and say now that, you know what, it's the 18th we serve it, but we put the wrong date on the 25th. That kind of stupidness they're coming with. But Mr. Granger, they go and get Mr. Granger to sign, and when they sign, before the man signs receiving it on the 18th, as they are saying in the same affidavit, the man signs saying receiving it on the 25th. There's everything that we are complaining about. So, it is total chaos. Total chaos. And the court has to rule. Submissions are continuing tomorrow. They are going to answer tomorrow to all these arguments that we have put forward. And as I pointed out today, and Mr. Mendes pointed out as well, the rules in relation to elections petition are peculiar rules. They are rigid. They are strict. They broker no variation. They broker no indulgence of the court. The court has no discretion. If you violate them, they're fatal. All the authorities see that from 300 years ago to now. So, and courts in Guyana have repeatedly held that. Non-service is always fatal. In fact, the authorities say if the petition is served late, the court cannot hear it because the court has lost jurisdiction to hear it. Because service in time is what gives the court jurisdiction. So fundamental are these procedural rules, which in ordinary cases a judge can waive, or a judge can say, man, look, I will give you a chance, but not in elections petition. The rationale being that every society is entitled to know who the parliamentarians are and who the government is, because you got to govern the country.
Basically, the country has to go on.
That's correct. So elections petition, if there's a dispute, it must be disposed of quickly.
And would be very much needed in this case, in the fact that this now opposition, when in government, have misused and abused the courts. A question in the same realm, Minister NANDLALL. It's all fancy for the two sides. We have two political sides, and it's all fanciful that the opposition, now when in government, lost every case that they brought before the court. I am wondering, when this, which obviously is not going to go in their favor, how it's playing out, we all saw what the election is about, who is going to foot the bill that this is costing taxpayers? Your job, and to do this, to appear the court, there's a cost. Will we be recovering that cost?
First of all, Critic, I don't think we ever appreciate the real cost. And all the costs are borne by taxpayers. 90% of it. Let me rephrase that. The real cost is not how much the court award to the lawyer or the court award to the successful litigant. That's not the real cost. The real cost is running the court system day in, day out, for weeks sometimes, to hear one of these cases, or for months. Check the air condition bill, check the light bill, check the number of staff involved, check the cost of stationery, check the cost of Wi-Fi and internet, check the cost of paper that has to be used. When you total all of that, the judges a judge doesn't sit free, the staff, they don't work free, taxpayers pay, everyone. So that's the first bulk of the cost. And then, when they lose, the court awards cost against them. For example, Basil Williams, I have millions of dollars of cost to pay here. Millions of dollars for the past 5 years, for the number of cases that he lost. Not only costs, but compensation. Compensation, dozens of millions of dollars. Now, he left, he gone. He doesn't have to pay. The taxpayers have to pay. In the political cases alone, I have lawyers suing here for their fees. I have dozens of letters here. I have law proceedings filed for outstanding fees. Taxpayers got to pay. The costs themselves in the election cases made against the Attorney General, CCJ, Court of Appeal, CJ, all these courts made orders against him. Taxpayers dollars have to go towards the payment of those costs. He's not here, I have to pay. Where do I get the money from? The Treasury. And then of course you have the persons who are filed. Eslin David, Yolita Moore, and Messenger Jones. Costs were awarded against all of them. I don't know where they are. So I don't know whether the state can recover them. But cost was also awarded against the Attorney General in those very cases. And the Attorney General is here. So he has to pay. He has to pay. So litigation is an extraordinarily costly exercise. People don't understand that. That is why in other countries, In the United Kingdom, even in Trinidad, countries that have the Privy Council as their last court of appeal, the costs runs into thousands and thousands of US dollars. When you go to the CCJ, to take a case to the CCJ, you have to lodge cost in the sum of 1.8 million before you can get the appeal heard. Because in the event that you lose, that $1.8 million automatically, minimum, goes to the other side as cost. And the court has a power to build upon that, to add upon that. But at a minimum, you have to pay what is called security of costs in the sum of 1.8 million. So litigation is not cheap anywhere in the world. And look at the number of lawyers who are involved. You know, have you ever seen the volume of paper that these litigations have consumed? They are this big. This big. And all for what? Totally wasted. Absolutely unnecessary. All those election cases. Every court told them the same thing. At every level of the judiciary. But they keep coming, they keep coming, they keep coming. They were hoping that they will hit bullseye somewhere along the way in their desperation to steal elections.
Attorney General NANDLALL, there are a number of cases outside of the election cases. There are a number of election-related cases outside of the petitions, as it relates to Mingo, Lowenfield, Roxanne Myers, and a number of others who committed electoral fraud. Ms. Valda Lawrence, can you say where those cases are, and is there any timeline? I know the judicial system could be very slow at times, but is there any timeline? We're looking at sometime in the near future, regional elections, then 2025 general elections, and obviously the Guyana Election Commission and the people need to know what happened, and people need to be held accountable for the wrongs that were done on March the 3rd and were thereafter. Can you give us some insight as to where these cases are and what the Guyanese citizen can expect?
Fortunately, due to technology and the way things were done, you and I and every other Guyanese, and in fact every other citizen of the world following the Guyana elections, saw for themselves firsthand the level of depravity, rascality, thievery, and fraud committed by these persons. Both the local community and the international community demanded that they be charged and placed before the court. They attempted to steal a government. They attempted to destroy Guyana and the future of our country. That is what they are guilty of. And the state must protect itself because there can be a recurrence. The state must show its displeasure. It must show its sternness against such fraudulent conduct intended to destroy the state itself. And the state has enough resources and enough personnel at its disposal to take the requisite steps to ensure that these persons face the criminal justice system, and also that once they are found guilty, such penalties are imposed that will be a deterrent to any person intending to do likewise in the future.
Just quickly, dear Attorney General, you said once they're found guilty, and this is a unique case. You are innocent until proven guilty.
Yes.
But again, this is one of the most unique cases, being that it played out in sight of the public. And the question is, how can they not be found guilty?
Well, I don't want to preempt the administration of justice, but the administration of justice itself would be on the showcase and would be scrutinized closely, not only by Guyanese, but by the international community. But remember, we also have to ensure that we get the evidence to produce to the court. The court really can't judge a case on what is out there, though it may be known. You have to actually present the evidence. As you know, about nearly 30 charges have been filed, criminal charges. And I think 6 to 7 prosecutors or more have been recruited to prosecute these charges. Again, this is causing the state millions of dollars because these lawyers have to be paid, because they are working. The DPP has issued what is called fiats to all these lawyers, granting them the authority to prosecute on her behalf, because she is the sole prosecutrix under the Constitution. And the cases are before, I think, various magistrates. I'm not sure, I think so. And they will be the trial of them will be starting shortly, because I know that they are in the process of preparing statements to be served, etc. on the defense, and they have a right to defend themselves, of course. But all of this is unnecessary. All of this is because of a grouping of politicians who fortunately are still around, who wanted to thief a government, knowing full well that they lost an election. And today they are lecturing the country on morality. When I see some of them, I have to take out the TV. These guys should never show their face anywhere in the public. And they are not only showing their face, but they are telling you about right and wrong. Is like if this world is upside down. When I hear some of these guys talking to you, you choke.
You got pause for that.
But you know, they are around. They are around.
Unfortunately.
Lecturing about what is right and what is wrong and what is good in government.
Attorney General NANDLALL, 2 more questions. I know you're very busy with getting all these things in place. Attorney at Law James Bond was recently arrested for, as it relates to an investigation of land deal that is considered to be fraudulent. What do you know about it, and does the state have a good case? Or just give me an idea what you know.
Well, the investigations are ongoing, but a lot of information is in the public domain and reported in the press. From what is available out there, and I have examined the files myself before I pass them to the police, it would appear as though Bond got himself hired as a lawyer of NISIL without the board's approval as the first thing. There's no board decision hiring Bond as a lawyer. There are lawyers hired by NISIL on record. They were not given these cases. Bond was given this collection of cases. He seemed to have been hired by Heath London for all intent and purposes. NISIL has a particular way that it transacts its business. You go to NISIL and you do it. If you want a lease, you make an application, or there is a process. Lands are advertised for an invitation of expression of interest, and you make an application, you submit a project profile of what you want to do with the land, etc., and you get a lease from NISIL. The transaction is done out of NISIL office. from all the evidence that is available, this fella here went around seeking persons, James Bond, offering them land, telling them that he can get it from this here. And he did get it. And the leases were done in his office, based upon what the people have said to the police in statements. So he got them the lease. And when you look at the lease, he was supposed to be acting in Nissil's interest. He's Nissil's lawyer. But he inserted or removed from standard clauses on the lease that prohibits a lessee from parting with possession or divesting one's interest in the lease without the prior consent of the landlord in writing. He removed that caveat, that protective mechanism. So the lease reads that the tenants may sublease without the landlord's consent. Can you imagine that? I am renting you my property. I am renting you my property. And I will tell you that you can go and sell it or divest it or sell your interest to Tom, Dick and Harry. And Tom, Dick and Harry will now stand in your shoes, and I have to deal with Tom, Dick and Harry, although I don't know them, I didn't consent to them being part of in my property. Does that even make sense to you?
Is there?
So that is what happened here. And they went and they got monies from people, the Chinese man, I'm told, 130 million for one plot of land and 130 million for another plot of land. That's the money that they sold the property for the Chinese man for, but the lease got $100. The agreement of sale between the lessee and the Chinese man got $100. Who in their right mind would sell out their leasehold interest for in 20 or 30 acres of prime state, prime commercial land for $100 Guyanese? That transaction by itself demands investigation. That's money laundering right here.
Outside of an illegal act suggesting to have been committed, is there any effects? Because lawyers have to be held accountable. And if a lawyer is going about doing these kind of things, is there anything that holds him as a lawyer? I know he's being investigated for fraud and in terms of how this was carried out. But as a lawyer, he should have known better. Are there any things that have been brought?
He should have known better. He knows better. You don't think he knew what he was doing there was wrong? But it's money, bro. One transaction is $200 million. $200 million. You carry $2 million at the bank tomorrow to deposit. You have to tell them who your grandmother was married to and where you get that money from. You got to fill up all kind of forms. This man get $200 million in the account and the man can ask him a question.
Will that be looked into? Will that bank be held? I get blocked from Western Union for having a couple of $1,000 coming in,
exactly.
Too many times. So I don't think the new Financial Act allows for things like that. How did that pass?
Well, there is a system, and the transaction has already been highlighted, and hopefully this necessary apparatus of state will investigate and will deal with that. But out of the two transactions where the 2 plots of land were resold, he pocketed 60 million again. That is what the two gentlemen said to the police. And they were to collect the balance. And the money was paid at a certain lawyer office in Brigham. So this is multi-million-dollar fraud. Multi-million-dollar fraud. And I see people doing candlelight vision. What kind of country we live in? 60 and 60, 120. 120 and 203. A man thief $320 million. and the police lock him up for a couple hours and people hold a candle, he becomes a hero. This is an upside down society we live in.
Unfortunate state of affairs. One more thing I want to touch on, Attorney General. This has affected a lot of people. Only the other night, I get a call. You read the Ponzi scheme principle. A lot of people go in there for the money and things because he made claims he'll be giving back the money and these kind of things. And he was redirecting people. Again, redirecting or misdirecting people. Saying things get hold up and all kind of things. Blaming. You as a matter of fact, can you speak to this, where it is, and will Guyanese ever be able to recover their money?
Unfortunately, I don't believe that Guyanese will be able to recover any money from this man. I have said from the beginning that this man is a fraud. And everything that I have seen after that have proven me correct. I have outlined numerous times to the press the facilities that we have extended to this man while he was in the lockup. Open a bank account for him, give him a cell phone to use, give him his internet to use, provide him a laptop computer. Nothing came out of it. The other day, his 2 lawyers came here, right in this office. They said that they want me to help them again. They want the government to help to bring back the money. I said, well, tell me what is it that you want the government to do, because we are pledged to do that. Whatever it is that the government can lawfully do to bring the money back, we are going to assist, because we want the people to get paid. I said, you all write down for me, because every time you talk, this man changing his mouth. Write down for me what exactly this man wants from the government. Make sure he read it. Make sure he initial it. That yes, this is what he wants. Bring it to me, I will examine it. And if it is legal and would not put the government in any problem internationally, yes, the government will assist.
But Attorney General,
I never seen the 2 lawyers back.
Has there been any proof? Now, saying that you want a bank account to bring back, has Mr. Yuri proven to the government that there is any money anywhere that could be retrieved?
None. He gave us several bank accounts. Every time we go to the bank account, the bank account either doesn't exist or it belongs to a company that has nothing to do with him. And when you look at the content of the bank account, it has no money inside, nothing of substance. He said that he got bitcoins, wherever that is. Bitcoin is not a legal tender in there. So if you got Bitcoin and this thing value, I don't know how much, $100 million, you gotta sell this Bitcoin. Whatever it is, I don't know, I'm not a financial wizard. Whatever it is, we said to him, said to his 2 lawyers last week or the week before, put it in writing. Put it in writing, give him to read it 3-4 times. Read it aloud to him, make sure he understands that that is what he wants. And bring it to me, and we will see whether we can help. And never, the 2 lawyers never written that.
Attorney General NANDLALL, this has affected almost 17,000 Guyanese in a real negative manner. Put some people literally on the breadline. Unfortunately, Mr. Yuri is out. And it seems that as a result of these contracts drawn up, he has found a loophole that affords him the opportunity to fleece Guyanese. Because I can tell you from experience, Bernie Madoff and Alan Sanford, who were running organizations that did pay, did have legit setups, were found to be running Ponzi schemes and are serving life sentences in prison. Mr. Yuri is out. Also, 17,000 people are out of their money. If the law does not have things in place to ensure that this, cause this to happen, are we going to be putting that in place to ensure that it does not happen again?
I'm glad that you raised that. Right now, let me tell you that we don't have the most modern legislative network to deal with these advanced financial crimes. And we are in the process of drafting it right now. But we have ordinary laws that deal with fraud, fraudulent misrepresentation, obtaining money by false pretenses, etc. These are still good offenses that can be used. But I will concede that we don't have the sophisticated financial laws like the United States, where Madoff and Allen Sanford were jailed. Those were the legal the offenses. American laws, they were convicted under. We have not reached here. Our society has not, evolved to that stage until this guy came. So we have to now put that in place. In fact, the entire Caribbean is now working on a model legislation to deal with Ponzi scheme. Because Trinidad it happened, and some other country it happened. And when this thing happened in Guyana, it made the news throughout the Caribbean. And immediately, a process was activated to begin work on a model legislation to deal with this kind of conduct. Because they're coming here. They're coming here. And we have our anti-money laundering set up. With that kind of money, you have to have a source. You have to be able to account. If you can't, the presumption is that you're laundering money. That is in essence what the anti-money laundering law says. If I got you $2 in your pocket and you can't show me the source, and that source is legitimate, then you are taken to be smuggling, laundering money. So under the anti-money laundering law as well,
As it relates to the UV case, I just want to make you aware of this. A lot of people call me and ask me how to get back the money, so I tell them report to CID headquarters.
That's all I've been telling people.
And many people have told me that CID headquarters is telling them to go and talk to Yuri's lawyer. So it is a very much a push. I know if you go to the police, they should be taking a statement and looking at that. So just to make you aware, I don't know what's going on down there. And I'm hearing you say talking to the lawyers and making some arrangement. I'm hoping that these arrangements, people don't, the police don't feel that there's some sort of settlement.
No. In fact, I will call the relevant players back together for a meeting, because the president has assembled a group to deal with this issue, because it's so many people, who have been defrauded and who have lost money, and so much money. So I will regroup and get an update on where we are with the respective players in the equation.
Mr. NANDLALL, thank you very much for your time, and hope we could do this sometime again soon.